Good morning, students. I am Sweetly, Assistant Professor of Civil Engineering Department, working in Emmanuel Research JJ College of Engineering. Today, we are going to study about flocculation. What do you mean by flocculation? I hope all of you studied this topic in chemistry. Can you hear this topic already? Flocculation is nothing but it is the process of removing a minute particles present in a wastewater. Okay, if we add any coagulant to remove the waste particles in a wastewater, then we call that process as coagulation. If we didn't add any coagulant, by using the method of flocculation, if we remove the minute particles, then it is known as a flocculation. Okay, listen. Flocculation in a field of chemistry, it is a process wherein the colloids come out of suspension in a form of floc or flakes by the addition of clarifying agent. Okay, if we add any clarifying agent, then the process is known as coagulation. If we didn't add any clarifying agent, then the process is known as flocculation. Okay, this action is different from precipitation in that prior to flocculation, colloids are merely suspended in a liquid and not actually dissolved in a solution. Okay. Here, the colloidal particles may suspended in a liquid. Okay, it does not actually dissolve in a solution. In the flocculated system, there is no formation of cake, which means the flocks doesn't remain as a sludge. Okay, it just remain in a suspension. Okay, because all the flocks are in suspension. During the flocculation, the blades or paddles may get rotated. Therefore, the flocks remains in suspension only. It is not in a formation of sludge, not in a form of a sludge. See this diagram here. The raw water, which means the waste water, is fed into the tank. Then it is mixed with the help of flash mix or paddles or blades. Okay. Then it is allowed to enter into a next chamber, next tank. Here, 3 blades or paddles are present. One rotate with high speed, and then second one rotate with a medium speed, and third one rotate with a low speed. During that rotation of the paddles, the flocks remains in a wastewater, combines together and remains in a suspended stage. Okay, then the remaining water is allowed to flow through a sedimentation chamber and the flocks get removed from it. Okay, can you understand the process? Okay, coagulation and flocculation is a 3-step process consisting of first mixing, then addition of coagulant in case of coagulation process, and then flocculation. Flocculation is rotating. However, in a treatment plant there is 2 steps only. The water flows into a flash mix chamber and then enter into the flocculation basin. Okay. Generally, coagulation process means adding coagulant, first mixing using the paddle, then complete flocculation process. In the flash mixer, if the coagulant chemicals are added to the water, then the water is mixed quickly and violently. Okay, the water must be mixed quickly and with a high speed only. Then only the chemicals, the coagulant may distribute or mix evenly into the wastewater. Otherwise, the chemical cannot mix evenly in the wastewater. Therefore, if we add coagulant in the wastewater, then we have to mix it quickly as well as violently. Okay. The purpose is to evenly distribute the chemicals into the water. The flash mixing typically lasts a minute or less. If the water is mixed for less than 30 seconds, then the chemical will not be properly mixed into the water. If the water is mixed more than 60 seconds, then the mixer blades will shear the newly forming of flock back into the small particles. Therefore, the mixing time will be within 30 seconds to 60 seconds. Okay, you have to mix the coagulant not less than 30 seconds and not more than 60 seconds. Okay, if we mix it for less than 30 seconds, then it will not, the chemical, the coagulant will not mix properly into the wastewater. If we mix it more than for 60 seconds, then the formation of flocks may get affected. Therefore, you have to mix it with a proper speed, okay, for a proper timing only. Otherwise, the flocculation process will not be successful. Okay, after the flash mixing process, the coagulation occurs. During the coagulation, the coagulant chemicals neutralize the electrical charges of the fine particles in the water, allowing the particles to come closer and form large clumps. This large clumps is known as a flocks. Okay. During the coagulant process, the chemicals neutralize the electrical charges of the fine particles in the water, allowing the particles to come closer together and form large clumps. This large clumps is known as a flocks. Okay, the diagram shows the how coagulations occur. Okay, first the wastewater is collected in a tank, then the coagulant is added into the wastewater. Then you have to mix it properly. The mixing will not be less than 30 seconds and should not be more than 60 seconds as we studied earlier. Okay, you have to mix it not less than 30 seconds and not more than 60 seconds. After that, the coagulant forms a precipitate by neutralizing the electric charges from the fine particles in the water and forms a precipitate. After that, the precipitate and trapped impurities may get settled to the bottom. Do you understand this diagram? This diagram clearly shows how the coagulation or flocculation may occur. Okay? Here the coagulant is added. Otherwise, we didn't add the coagulant or the chemical. Directly we mix using the paddles or blades. At that time, the coagulant forms a precipitate by trapping the impurities. Then the precipitate and the impurities get settled down at the bottom. Then the final step is flocculation. During flocculation, the process of gentle mixing brings the fine particles formed by coagulation into contact with each other. Flocculation typically lasts for about 30 to 45 minutes. The flocculation basin often has a number of compartments with decreasing mixing speeds as the water advances through the basin. This compartment chamber allows increasingly large flock to form without being broken apart by the mixing blades. Okay, here it explains about the flocculation process only. Flocculation Here the paddles or the blades get rotating, and hence the coagulant or the chemicals get mixed with the fine particles present in the wastewater. The flocculation process finally lasts for about 30 to 45 minutes. In the flocculation diagram we already saw there are a number of compartments, because one paddle rotating with a high speed and second one rotating with a medium speed and last one rotating with a low speed. Okay, therefore compartments are there. This compartments allows the flock not to move outside the chamber, because if it moves from one chamber to another during mixing, the flock may get again broken. Okay, again broken, and then we have to add chemicals. The process may become difficult. Therefore, in each chamber, the flocks get settled at the bottom. After that, we may remove the flocks to the sedimentation tank and the wastewater remaining to the another tank. This is the process happened in a flocculation method. Okay, flock. The definition of flock. What is meant by flock? The end product of a well-regulated coagulation or flocculation process in water is known as flock. Okay. The end product obtained from the flocculation process, which means the precipitate or the impurities settled at the bottom of the flocculation tank, is known as flock. How this flock get formed? The impurities present in the wastewater gets attached to the coagulant chemicals and forms like a clumps of bacteria or a precipitate. Okay. Then it may get settled at the bottom of the sedimentation basin, and then it is removed with the help of a filter. Okay. The end product obtained from the flocculation process is known as a flock. The best flock size is 0.1 to 3 mm. The larger flock does not settle as well and is more subject to breakup in the flocculation basin. Okay, because the paddle is rotating for 30 to 45 minutes. Therefore, larger size flock cannot get formed because it gets broken already by means of a paddle rotation. Okay, the formation of flock is important in flocculation. Okay, the better removal of flock gives a better result in the wastewater treatment. Okay, I hope all of you understand how the flocculation process and coagulation process occur and how the flock get formed in the sedimentation tank. Flocculation process and coagulation process, the difference is very important, and also the flock, what is meant by flock, is also a very important question. Study well. Thank you. Sir.